Hello, everyone. So, welcome to our first locked in March challenge entry with like a member joining in. Uh, yeah, and today we're a very pleasure. We got Naira to share about the topic of mastering the art of communication and just a bit of background and like of who Naira is. She's one of our locked in community members. We're based in Pakistan. She's like in different growth roles, head of growth in Swampify, while being at a growth role in Simfica. Personally, like I think Naira is one of the most consistent person in the community, where she's always active here and there, and like not only in the January challenge, but also in the February challenge, where yeah, she's been like really consistently growing throughout this time. So really love to hear what she has for this upcoming challenge, and thanks for being one of the like you're the first person who signed up for this challenge with and being this risk taker. So yeah, thanks Naira.
Okay, thank you so much, Jan, for having me here, and thank you so much for being one of the greatest mentors I've ever met. And
No,
your guidance, along with LockedIn, has been a transformative experience for me. And so, yeah, a little bit about me. I'm Naira. I'm in high school, and I have a dire passion for public speaking, communication, debating, anything in that regime. And I'm today here to share some of my insights that I've learned over the years, and I would absolutely love for everyone to listen. And I hope this will bring great insights for you as well.
okay, yeah, can't wait for it, Naira. And yeah, let's get straight into the TED Talk then.
For
Uh,
sure.
yep. So right now, just leave and then yep, and have the stage in three, two, one.
Okay, thank you so much. So, let me ask you something simple before actually diving into the main presentation. Have you ever been in a conversation and walked out of it thinking, that is not what I meant to say, or that is not what I actually meant for the other person to understand? Like, you explained something clearly. In your head, it made perfect sense, but somehow it landed differently. Like, the other person perceived it as something totally different compared to what you were meant to say. I think honestly, we all have been there at some point, and honestly, I have as well. And there is one specific moment I remember very vividly. It was after a debate competition. I had prepared for weeks. My arguments were structured, my rebuttals were sharp. I walked off stage feeling confident, like genuinely confident. But later, someone came up to me and said, your speech and your rebuttals were strong, but they did not connect. And that single sentence, it bothered me a lot. Because at the end of the day, I thought communication meant speaking well, it meant speaking fluently, confidently, assertively. But that day, I realized something uncomfortable. Communication is not about how well you speak, it's actually about how accurately your message is received. And those are two completely different things. So, today, I want to break down what actually makes communication powerful, not just impressive, not just confident, but actually transformative. So, you might be thinking, why is effective communication even important? Well, to be honest, when I first started public speaking, that included debates, declamations, leading events, I thought delivery was everything: tone, posture, vocabulary, confidence. And yes, those things matter. But over time, especially when I started leading teams and being responsible for outcomes, I noticed something different. The most influential person in the room was not always the most fluent one, but instead the most clearest. Yes, let me say that again. Not the loudest, not the most aggressive, and not even the most intellectual. It was the clearest person. Because at the end of the day, communication determines whether your ideas gain support, whether your leadership earns trust, whether conflicts escalate or dissolve, whether opportunities open or quietly disappear. And most misunderstandings in life are not caused by bad intentions, they're actually caused by misalignment. Two people are speaking, but they're not operating on the same psychological level. And once I understood that, communication just stopped being a soft skill for me. It became something powerful, it became a leverage. So you might be wondering, okay, if we know about the importance of communication, but what actually makes communication effective? Well, there are a lot of ways that communication can be made effective, and there is not one factor that decides what makes communication effective. There are a variety of factors, including your body language, your tonality, your pace, and your clarity. Even your charisma plays a huge role in the effectiveness of your communication. So, there are a lot of factors in short. But there is one framework that completely changed how I speak, and it is something very simple yet powerful. So, as you can see, it is the PAR framework, which says point, action, and result. So, before I speak now, especially in serious settings, I ask myself three main questions. What is my core point? What action do I want from them? And what result should this create? Because clarity is what reduces your cognitive load. If your message is unclear, the listener has to work harder to understand you. And quite frankly, you might have noticed this: when people have to work harder to understand something, they disengage. And honestly, in serious settings, we would not want our audience to be disengaged from what we are communicating. So, how does this PAR framework exactly works? Well, let me give you an example before explaining it in depth. Instead of saying something like, we need to improve, which is a clear statement, but it's a very, very vague statement. How do we say the exact same thing using the PAR framework? Is we can say something like, our rebuttals lack statistical evidence, which is a point. How do we back it up with action? We could say something like, we should integrate at least one data source per argument. That is an action. Now, combined with these points and action, what is the result do we want? The result would be, this will increase our credibility with judges. Now, you see, there is no confusion. There is structure, and honestly, structure is respect. It shows you value the listener's mental space, and you actually have respect for the people's time who are listening. But here's the thing: even perfect structure does not guarantee connection, because At the end of the day, communication is not purely logical, communication is psychological. And this is where it gets more deeper. So, there are three layers of every conversation. And you might be confused at first because we often perceive conversation as something that is just talking without any emotional or psychological depth. But let me tell you this, every conversation has three layers happening all at once, all simultaneously. The first one is the practical layer. The practical layer is basically what we are talking about. So, for example, right now I'm talking about how you can make your communication more effective. That is the practical layer. The second layer is the emotional layer. The emotional layer basically tells you how we feel about what we're talking. So, for example, if I'm talking about the art of communication, how do I feel about talking about communication? I might feel angry, I might feel happy, I might even feel anxious, or I might even feel timid. That is basically what is the emotional layer. And then there's the third layer, that is the identity layer. Identity layer significantly is who we think we are in that moment. So, for example, if I'm talking about communication at the moment and I might be happy at the moment, an identity layer shows me what exactly am I in that moment. Am I just a random person speaking? Am I a master of public speaking and debates? Am I just a student learning about communication and improving simultaneously? That is what the identity layer essentially is. And unfortunately, most people only respond to the practical layer, which means only what is being talked about. But the real conversation often lives underneath. I'll give you an example. Imagine someone says, I am overwhelmed with this project. What do we usually do? You might respond with solutions like just manage your time better, just have a healthy diet, or sleep well. That is practical. But what if they weren't asking for advice? What if they were expressing emotional exhaustion? Now your solution actually feels dismissive. Because when someone is speaking from the emotional layer, they often want to be responded through an emotion and not through practicality. Your solution feels dismissive not because it's wrong, but because it's misaligned. And this is something I learned the very hard way in debates. Sometimes I would win arguments logically, but honestly, I would lose the room emotionally because I only addressed the practical layer and ignored the emotional and the identity layers. Alignment is what matters more than being right. And that single realization was what changed everything for me. Now we talk about this very important principle, which is the matching principle. Now, once you recognize the layer, you apply what's called the matching principle. For example, if someone speaks emotionally, match their emotion first. If someone speaks logically, respond logically rather than emotionally. If someone if someone's identity feels threatened, protect their dignity first. Early in my debate journey, I thought stronger evidence would always win, but honestly, sometimes the audience wasn't evaluating evidence, they were evaluating alignment. Because at the end of the day, persuasion is not dominance, it is synchronization. When people feel understood, they become open. And what leads to them being understood is matching their conversation layer. Just as I said earlier, if someone is speaking emotionally, match their emotion first instead of responding logically. Because when people feel understood, they become more open. And openness is the gateway to influence. You don't change minds by overpowering someone or considering yourself more authoritative compared to other people. You change minds by aligning with them. And alignment starts with one critical rule: emotion before logic. So, let me tell you this: the brain processes threat before reason. When emotionally defensive, the brain cannot process rational arguments, and validation must come first. Okay. अच्छा Chup yaar, chup please. ठीक है. If someone feels attacked, dismissed, or unheard, their brain activates defense mode. And honestly, once someone is defensive, logic does not simply land. You could have the most brilliant argument, but it would not matter. One sentence changed my conversations, to be honest, which is, I understand why that matters to you. The, the sentence is quite simple, but it can actually create so much understanding, and you will not even realize that. I understand why that matters to you. This is the simple sentence. It is not agreement, it is not surrender, it is not acknowledgement. It is just understanding the other person. And I have honestly seen tension dissolve instantly because of this single sentence. Because validation lowers resistance, and lower resistance allows logic. Emotion first and logic second, always. So now, once we have covered the fundamentals of effective communication, including the PAR framework and also about the three layers of conversations, there is something more fundamental that comes into communication, which is the power of deep questions. Now, honestly, if we look around our day to day conversations, most of them stay surface level. I'll give you a very simple example. When we are talking to someone, we are just usually asking simple questions like, how are you? How was it? And they'd respond with something like, good, I'm fine. What about you? That's it. But depth is what creates connection. Instead of asking, did it go well? You could ask something like, what part of it challenged you the most? Now you're inviting reflection. When people reflect, they reveal values. And when values are revealed, trust builds. And as a speaker, I have realized audiences do not connect with perfection. And this is a fallacy we all are blinded blinded by. But honestly, audiences or anyone never ever connects with perfection, and they never even want to see your perfect self. They connect with authenticity, with the human behind your mask. And authenticity is unlocked through deeper dialogue, not just through surface level talk. The depth of your questions are what determine your influence, and the depth of your questions determine the depth of your influence overall. So, as we deepen our understanding about communication, we need to understand this very one fundamental thing that is called meta listening. Now, in simple words, meta listening is basically hearing beyond the words. Most people would listen to a reply, but very few people would understand patterns. Meta listening is basically paying attention to tone changes, repeated phrases, emotional spikes, and what is avoided. So ask yourself, what do they really need right now? Do they need advice? Do they need validation? Do they need recognition? Sometimes words are quite surface level, but needs are deeper. When you respond to the need, not just a sentence, people feel deeply understood. And meta listening is one of the most fundamental parts of communication because earlier we discussed about the PAR framework, about the depths and the layers of conversations. They all come from you speaking. But meta listening comes from you listening. It shows your empathy, it also shows that you're attentive. When you respond to the need of people, not just the sentence, then people will truly feel deeply understood, and that understanding is what builds trust. Being understood also creates psychological authority, and that's not loud authority, the arrogant authority, but actually the real authority. Now we talk about constructive feedback without resistance. If we talk about feedback in general, it's basically another person's take on what we do currently. So, feedback can build someone or break them if we talk about that in general. The difference lies in clarity and empathy. If I talk about my own journey, earlier I received feedback that was technically correct, but it was emotionally careless. That feedback, it did not motivate me, it made me even more defensive. So, for myself, I changed how I give feedback. So, there are different ways you can give feedback, but for me personally, what I follow is I go with a specific praise and clear improvement point along with an actionable suggestion. So, maybe if I am going to give feedback on someone's argument or their debate's rebuttal, I would say something like, your argument was strong. Adding data here would strengthen your conclusion. That is simple, but it does not feel attacked on someone, neither it feels emotionally blackmailed kind of a feedback. And you see how specific the feedback was. So, there, I also want to denote this point that specificity improves your performance, and empathy protects your identity. And when identity feels safe, growth accelerates. And that is something we all need to know by now. So, so far we have covered the fundamentals of effective communication, including that of meta listening, asking deeper questions, and even about constructive feedback. So, when it comes to leadership, communication is influencing and very, very important, because communication multiplies your intelligence, and intelligence without communication stays invisible. Intelligence with communication becomes something more powerful, which is influence. Now, you might have noticed this about leaders, is that leaders frame ideas clearly. They align emotionally, they adapt based on psychology, and through years of speaking, I have realized presence is truly not about perfection. As I mentioned previously, it is about alignment between thought, emotion, and delivery. The person who communicates best often becomes the decision maker, not because they know the most, but because they articulate the clearest. And once again, when your message is clear, people are more likely to be understood, validated, and that is something that again builds trust.
Okay. Okay, yeah, Naira, thank you very much for this presentation. Really enjoyed the message throughout. And yeah, so let
So,
me just
like, one last thing I would want to cover is that since we have covered all these communication fundamentals,
yep.
what can you do to starting today about communication? So there's something very simple you can do is before responding, ask which layer is this conversation operating on. So basically validate the emotion first before offering logic, and ask one deep question. Structure your thoughts according to the point, action, and result framework. Now, these shifts might seem like very, very small and insignificant, but these small shifts repeatedly daily create mastery in communication. So, at the end, communication is not about speaking more, it is about understanding more. And when you understand more, you influence more. Thank you so much for giving your time, and I hope you gain valuable insights from this presentation.
Okay, yes, thank you, Naira. Sorry for popping in just now. I just thought it just ended, but yeah, really enjoyed this presentation about like communication, and just want to share some thoughts I have on my side, and I'll just give you a few questions I've got. So yeah, so I just took some notes as long as the down the road just now as well during a presentation. So yeah, for me, I've recently not recently, but before I read a book on how to win friends and influence people by Dale
Mm-hmm.
Carnegie, and I think it's just really about like thinking in more like analytical way of like what are the other people, other party, counterparties thinking about when you're negotiating with them. And these are like just, oh wait, shoot, can you hear me? Hello? Wait, does it work right now? Hello? Hi. Okay, can anyone hear me in the chat right now? uh Chat, can anyone hear me in the chat? uh Anyone in the chat? Wait, just check. Wait. Okay, Naira, I just checked in the chat. I think there's some sound on my side. Okay, you guys can hear me. Perfect. Can you hear me now, Naira?
Yeah, yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, perfect. Maybe just a bit of lag just now, but yeah, basically really enjoyed how like I really like the in-depth of analysis of how you pointed out. It's really in these details, and these are what really compounds everything. It's just those
Mm-hmm.
really micro things, such as noticing someone's tone from
Yeah.
like practical level, emotional level, and the last one, shoot, I have to look at my notes. Practical level, emotional
Mm-hmm.
level, and the identity level. Yes. So I think these are something that I haven't really heard about before, and it was great understanding and even learning from you. And uh,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, so definitely one big takeaway for me would be like actually just become a better listener and have that sense of awareness around you.
Mm-hmm.
Really listen
Yes.
to others before you come into rush into like just speak about your point, while also just reiterate your like your response through the use of like the PAR, right? PAR framework. Yeah, point
Mm-hmm.
result. And yeah, got some questions for you. And oh yeah, if there's anyone in the chat room who's interested, feel free to give a question. If not, I'm just gonna start a bit. So yeah, would love to know like have you when you say you want to win like opponent during like any debate competition, how does
Mm-hmm.
applying the skill, is there any like example of if it worked or if it doesn't work? Because for me definitely using these skills, it works maybe like 70%, 80%, but in that remaining 20%, there's always like that like not anyone, everyone is using this it's like utilizes this framework as well. So like sometimes you use this and you don't get like really accepted, and you get like backfire with it. Have you had that experience before?
I think it really depends on the context of where you use a certain framework. So this was just one example of framework I shared with everyone over here. There are a lot of other examples as well that can be used, for frameworks. Like there's this one framework that is called the STAR framework that is often appropriate for the job interview setting styles. So
Mm, mm.
this is a framework which you can apply in normal situations as well, like when you're just talking to your friends or stuff. But if we see it like more deeply, I think this is more appropriate, especially in a setting where you were formally discussing something. If I'm not wrong, and I have also used it in formal settings most of the time, because if you are going to stick to one framework all the time, your speech is going to sound more monotonous and rigid. So it's better to diversify your communication styles.
Okay, yeah, thanks. And definitely have to like really be flexible and adaptable to any incoming situation.
Yes.
That's what makes you a good communicator. And
Mm-hmm.
to be honest, for me as well, I'm definitely not the smartest in the room, but what I really try to do is like you really want to let the other person know that you're listening, you're focusing on what they say, even you're not getting the concept, but that really makes a big difference if they can see you're like paying attention to them.
Yes.
And yeah, another cool, like, because I study a bit of psychology, and a very cool study I had in mind while you talk about like the sharing of like sharing, like the in-depth sharing in comparison to like the, oh, how are you doing, good, something like
Mm-hmm. Yes,
that. So I
exactly.
think, yeah, there's a study, Sheldon and or something like it, uh highlights how the more you share with someone, the more deeply connected you guys are, and it's really psychologically proven. It's like a flywheel, and I just think like that's how we really want to like foster those um communication with the people,
Mm-hmm.
like people you want to communicate well. And I really like that point of how you bring it up. And meta listening, another very cool concept you raised out, paying attention to details such as the minor details, tone changes, body language, and
Mm-hmm.
um yeah, and lastly the construct ending with the constructive feedback without resistance. And I think constructive feedback is one of the hardest thing to do, because you have to really um like,
Mm-hmm.
I won't say you have to like how do you like euphemize, is that how you say it, like,
Euphemize.
yeah, euphemize, like you don't want to do it all the way, but like at the same time you have to have like the standards, like you have to
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
let the person know like, oh, I'm not here because I'm better than you, but I'm here to help you improve. I think that's like a very key area of like how, like it's very easily to accidentally to make people feel like, oh, I'm here because I'm just better than you. That's my message.
Mm-hmm.
That's like those really minor, like a word or two, the use of a word would literally, and that's really coming back all to like literature and all that stuff, like the use
Yes.
of word, how does it connotation. And oh yeah, we got a live question from our chat. How do you adjust your communication style when you're the youngest person in the room but still want to be taken seriously by Nitin? So thanks Nitin for the question, and Naira,
Mm-hmm.
feel free to take that on.
Well, that is like a good question, to be honest. But like as we focused in this, presentation, when I'm the youngest person in the room, I would not try to sound older or more intelligent. I would try to sound clearer and more prepared, basically. So I would focus on doing my homework so my points are specific, they're not generic, and I would speak slowly and deliberately instead of rushing to prove my point or to prove my argument. And also, I would just avoid apologetic language like I'm just a student or I don't have that much experience, and instead contribute thoughtfully or ask, sharp questions that actually move the discussion forward. For me, taken seriously, it's not like just about age, to be honest. It's actually about your clarity, composure, and adding real value to the conversation.
Mm-mm. Definitely. And I think that's like for like a kind of school setting. But I love to share a bit more of like on my take as well, because a lot of the times when I'm in like in-person events and like for example, like it's just all adults with suits and all that, and I'm like just like some, because I've been to quite a bit of like events alone, and I've like at first for the first 10 or like 15 of the these events, I'm just like standing there, I don't know what to do, and it's
Mm-hmm.
just like really awkward. But as long as you go to there more, you get the vibe, you start to relax, and you just get out there. And then like I would say the communicational style would really be like, just be yourself, you're yourself, you're great, don't worry
Mm-hmm.
about them, and
Yeah, yeah.
just don't. And you, I think like even you don't need to look at the mindset of I'm the youngest person. That's not any advantage or disadvantage. Age
Yeah.
is just a number, and you're just like that ability of what you're saying, what you're the language you're talking, the
Yeah,
information,
yeah.
your language. So
Mm-hmm.
basically what you said upon like the like how you present yourself, and like thinking of how the sharpness, right? You mentioned
Mm-hmm.
like the sharpness, conciseness. This is like really matters when you're like the youngest person in the room, but you
Mm-hmm.
won't get taken seriously. Just become like, just don't like, for example, like a bad example would be you're in these areas and you're just like listen watching reels or something like that. So um yeah, that's like extreme example, but like just make sure you're being yourself, be
Mm-hmm.
authentic. You don't want to fake it, because
Yeah,
they can definitely tell. People
for
who are
sure.
older than you have a much more experience than you, and they can actually tell what this guy's on. So yeah, a bit on my side. Feel free to keep the questions coming, and yeah, Naira also yeah, the, yeah, I think, how many debate or public speaking competitions have you been at, or like what, since when did you start this hobby?
I basically started back in grade 7, I think. At
Mm,
that time, I was not good at public speaking or declamations or debating at all. So I just started it because I had this desire of being on stage and getting my ideas communicated and, getting taken seriously about what I have to say.
mm-hmm,
Uh, Initially, I was very bad at it. Like, I even paused in the middle of my declamation or speeches, and then yeah, it was like extremely awkward for me. But then, like, I did not take that as a breaking point or like something that's the end of the world. I actually took it as fuel and
mm,
kept doing it consecutively for I think 3 years. And then I believe in grade 9 I was able to win first position in my English declamation. And after that, it basically was a domino effect. I just kept winning, and even in grade 11 I got first position for Urdu debate competition, and I was able to represent, um, my school in the inter-school declamation contest, where basically a lot of schools were there. So I was the ambassador of my school over there, and I had to present my speech as well. And then as for MUNs, I did one MUN, and
mm.
I was able to win outstanding diplomacy, even though I just did one. But I think it was the skills that compounded, so I was able to channel all those communication skills and diplomatic skills together in that one MUN. So that's my journey so far. I plan to obviously continue this, passion of mine.
Right, yeah. And definitely like I really like the your in your whole presentation, I don't hear like and I don't really hear that pause that, even for me, a lot of times I have these like pause, and
Mm-hmm.
I really want to build up that like the, like you can see like just now I'm like so like I think I'm going to use Elko soon. I One of our partners, uh
Mm-hmm.
if you're locked in member, make sure to check out the Elko partner, where they are like a tool to train your public speaking skills, which is, I
Mm-hmm.
think, a big discount code with using code locked in or something. So make sure to check that out. And yeah, so let's give it a, if there's any more chat. Okay, one more question we got again from Nitin. Sometimes when you're younger, people interrupt or dismiss you before you finish. How do you handle that without losing composure or sounding defensive?
Hmm. Okay. Now, whoever this person is, I think this person has greatly observed everything that happens. So I think that happens, to be honest, and that has happened. So when this happens, I try not to take their dismissal personally, because interruptions often say more about the room dynamic than about my own value or about my own worth. So in
Mm-hmm.
that case, I try to stay calm, let the person finish what they were about to say, and then politely reclaim the floor with something like, if I could just complete my thought, or something like, I'd love to quickly finish that point that I left behind. The key here is basically to be steady, not sharp, or not get defensive. And
Mm-mm.
in a case if I'm consistently dismissed, I make my points more concise, and more structured, so they're harder to interrupt. Because as I mentioned earlier, that structure is very important and
Yep.
clarity is very important. So I would focus on sharply on those things then. And honestly, composure, I think, is power. The moment you become defensive, you're going to lose authority. But when you stay grounded and persistent, people would eventually adjust to your presence.
Mm-mm. Yeah, definitely. So again, you need to have that clarity, you have the confidence, and um a bit on I will just feel top on like few thoughts top of my head. So
Mm-hmm.
a lot of the people would interrupt, or like older people would dismiss you before you finish, because what you're saying is just simply not really helping the situation. So I think that's what really happens. For example, they're talking about some like finance stuff, and you're just starting talking about like the weather or something. So I actually went through that because I'm not a good speaker and then like I've been dismissed a few times, and I'm like, oh
Mm-hmm.
wow, these guys are rude. But oh yeah, thank you. Oh yeah, Naira, Nitin, like the person who asked the question, said like it's a beautiful response. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, and
Thank
yeah,
you.
so basically what I learned is like you need to like, especially when you're the youngest person, people would have that like schema of seeing like you're the most inexperienced person. They would
Mm-hmm.
have that like a bit of bias, I would say, indeed have
Yes, yes,
bias.
that's true.
But what you really want to do is like listen to everyone, be the last one, or like last person. You need to listen to everyone's tone, observe everyone's trait, and make sure like even if you don't speak, it isn't a bad thing. I would say a lot of the times in the business world
Mm-hmm.
especially, you the less you speak, the better it is. Like don't speak without a purpose or intent
Mm-hmm. For
in
sure.
this side. And yeah, so how do you handle that composure? I would say just just reflect on yourself first. So you're reflecting. Am I just have an internal quick check? Is what I'm saying like really awful? Like just have a quick check if this is providing value. Yes, then just don't do it next time. But if it's no, like you're talking about something with value, then you should know like and you know that this is like you're talking in a nice manner, you're not like laughing or like belittling
Mm-hmm.
adults, you're not disrespecting them, then you should like actually find like people who would like, because there's too many people and you can't like
Mm-hmm.
have the world
Right.
be around you. And you just need to find people who would uh, like acknowledge this and like be a good speaker that would understand. And like yeah, there's a lot of people to meet. And yeah, just need to switch it up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, true.
So oh yes, 45 minutes in the stream now. So yeah, Naira, thank you very much for joining today. And
Mm-hmm. Of course.
yeah, definitely everyone would definitely start some practice, validate a bit more of emotions before like just listening before we speak, and then
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
that
yeah.
micro analysis of, because recently I would say in, for example, like school, I've been speaking much less. I've been listening a lot more and like learning to like really to like just catch the vibe, or like catch how's everyone feeling and read the mood better.
Mm-hmm.
I think this is actually a skill that would build like not one day, it takes a lot of time. Still learning every day, and just let it compound. Just keep consistent and let it compound. And
Yes, of course.
yeah, that's basically it for today. And Naira, how's it going in the Ramadan? How many days left?
Oh, okay. Like Ramadan, 14 days into Ramadan, and then uh, if there are 30 days into Ramadan, then I think we have solid 16 days left, or either 15 days left, depends on the lunar sighting basically.
Mm-mm. Like the moon, right? I remember
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
okay. And yeah, I think Ramadan, because for me, I'm a Christian, but I'm like, I think Ramadan is one of the coolest. It's pretty cool. Like you don't I think it's like a really great reset. Even if you
Mm-hmm,
don't, you just take the like the religion aspect away. It's like if
mm-hmm.
you just don't eat in the morning, like you just don't eat in the day and only eat in the evening. And wait, you can drink water, right? I forgot. In the day,
No, no, you can't.
you can't.
No.
Jeez, oh my god. I can't. I don't think I can survive that. So like only I remember you. Oh yeah, that's why people drink 2 liters. Yeah. Oh my god.
Yeah, I think irrespective of religion, Ramadan is like, even if you don't practically fast in the month of Ramadan, fasting in general has, proven to
Yep.
have great scientific benefits, including, like, it reduces your bloating, it rejuvenates your brain cells, and it also makes you mentally more sharper, and it, instills self-discipline in you basically.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. That's self-discipline, and then like that. Would you say you're facing any challenges at the moment?
I think the main challenge is basically you get way too starved, like 1 to 2 hours prior to breaking fast. But I think as we are, keeping more and more fasts, we are kind of adapting to that. So I think that's fine.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Gotcha. But yeah, going strong, and I yeah love how it's this like everyone's going, and you guys are still going like strong.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, so have a nice evening, Naira. And
Thank you.
you wanna let me just take a quick snap. Oh wait, we can just yeah, I'll just screenshot. Yeah. Okay, yeah, free. I'll just oh wait, you don't have your cam. Okay, free. Okay. Yeah, so now we're just going to go on to the outro, and everyone who's watching, hope you have learned something from this TED Talk. And again, thank you very much for Naira for presenting and preparing like these slides and materials. And yeah, have a great day, everyone.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Have a great day, everyone.
All right. Bye bye.
Bye.
Okay.